Let's talk about Shogun, Episode 8, The Abyss of Life. So we'll give our scores first and then give a warning before we move into spoilers. So Alex, you want to start on this one?
Sure. I was curious about this episode because we kind of talked about it last week of like the direction they're going to go after the end of last week. And it went about what kind of like you mentioned, there's a few different ways we could see it happening, but this is pretty much how I pictured this episode being in a good way. Like, I really, really like this episode. We mentioned in previous episodes, very consistent, but I like this one in the sense of there's a lot happening and it gets pretty intense, especially towards the end of the episode. And again, not a lot of action, but a lot of just intensity and like uncertainty and like what's going to happen between characters, like very character-driven. I have the whole series, but I really enjoyed this one, and I loved the setup of the whole episode. I loved kind of where the characters are kind of moving pieces in this episode, kind of setting up. And so I gave this one a 9 out of 10. I thought this was, I really didn't have complaints about this episode.
I totally agree. I gave this one a 9 out of 10 as well. Absolutely incredible episode, and it's so crazy how they can build that tension with like you said, no action, nothing crazy happens, but you still feel this like tension building. And it seems like all of these episodes, there's like one scene it's building towards, and it just keeps building, and then it hits that scene, and then it's just like so tense, and it's just all this buildup coming together for this like perfect scene. And I feel like the last 3 episodes have all had that.
Yeah, and this one was pretty intense at that scene. I don't know what you're talking about, obviously, but man.
Great acting throughout the whole episode, but especially in that scene. Great dialogue, and it's got me really excited for the last 2 episodes. So yep, 9 out of 10.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. We have 2 more episodes. Yeah.
Yes. So let's get into spoilers for Shogun, Episode 8, The Abyss of Life.
The Abyss of Life. Did it kind of go as you thought it would in the sense of, because I knew, we all knew he had a plan, right? What's his face had a plan?
Toranaga.
There's no way he was going to just sit back and do nothing. I didn't believe it for one bit.
I agree.
And is he actually sick, or is he purposely trying to make himself seem weak?
I'm like 99% sure he's not sick, because in the last scene, he did not seem sick. I'm pretty sure he's acting like he's weak.
I liked how they played that off the whole episode. He's coughing and sick. I'm like, there's no way. Like, he's a smart dude is trying to make himself seem weak and frail.
Yeah, so smart.
I loved it.
I liked how this entire episode, in almost every scene, all the characters were talking about that. Is Toranaga actually giving up? No way. He's gonna fight. And like, that was everybody trying to figure out what is actually going on. And I thought that was a really cool theme of this episode.
First 30 minutes or so, at least, like, no one's seen him. Like, I haven't seen him since we've been here. He's been super sick. Like, it's almost like he was purposely setting up. Like, Toranaga was like, he knows, like, okay, I'm just gonna be off the grid. So let the rumors start. I'm super sick. You know, everyone get all scared. Like, he's such a cool character.
Yeah, I love it.
And then even him. So there was a scene where Don Blackthorn, he goes to what's the guy's name? The other guy that he goes to?
Yabushige.
Yeah, Yabushige. He goes there and tries to kind of form. He's basically saying, look, Toranaga he's done for. Yeah. Like, I want to align with someone. I'm just thinking a step ahead. And of course, in their culture, that's like, no, that's given up on. So like, that's loyalty. Loyalty's the big
honorable thing.
Yeah,
which I was kind of surprised that Yabushige didn't at first, because to me he seems like the kind of character who would jump ship when he thinks it's sinking. So
I agree, but I also think he felt like he knew that Toranaga was going to do something, so like he's holding his ground.
Yeah, there was one part where one character said it was after the priest came and was asking for the church and told him to side with Lady Ochiba, and Toranaga said he wouldn't, and he's gonna go surrender himself, and then he let him go. And then someone after was like, there's no way Toranaga would have let him go to go tell them that unless he wanted them to know that. And I feel like that's what swayed Yabushige.
That's right, because he said he wouldn't have sent him back to send a message of what he saw if he wasn't going to do something. That's right. Let's just jump right to it. So that ending, I will say, like, I knew Toranaga was up to something, but I wasn't expecting that whole scene. Were you?
But man, was it done well.
Like, it was intense and it was sad.
So intense and so sad. So Toranaga like gathers them all together to get them to sign that they're gonna go with him to surrender. And I think it's Buntaro's dad, Hiromatsu, says like it's pointless. They shouldn't go surrender, and if he does, he's gonna commit seppuku. And Toranaga does not budge. He says we're going. So eventually,
it's like he's known him since he was like a kid.
Yeah, he's the one he asked last episode about why he didn't say say about the 9 times it took to cut the guy's head off. So yeah, he's been with them since the beginning. They're really super close. I love the subtlety of that scene, and Toranaga even explains it after, about like they had a totally non-verbal communication there where it's like Hiramatsu was basically asking him like, do you need this in order to make this work, kind of thing. With Toranaga's answer of yes, I'm gonna go surrender, he knew he had to do it to move something for Toranaga so that he could get his plan to work. It's that kind of understanding, and you could just see it in their faces, like they're having this non-verbal communication kind of thing. It was so well done.
You could see him holding back like hard, like he's like, just, you're right, the expressions, he didn't even need to say much in that scene, and like his expression was like pain, just like such in pain. But like you said, they had like that verbal understanding, like, hey, this needs to happen, we need everyone to believe. It's a key piece. And I mean, but what sacrifice, man. Like,
I know. Yep. And his
I don't know.
When Buntaro Buntaro tries to get his dad to let him join him in seppuku, and Hiramatsu, his dad, says, do not give up on our lord, even if it appears he has given up on himself. And I thought that was such a good line. Yep.
And what did he say too? He said that he's not going to give him satisfaction of, or what, he's going to show him what it feels like to get denied something.
That's right. He did say something like that. Which, okay, switching gears a little bit, but Buntaro has been getting destroyed in especially this episode.
T scene, fault,
it is his fault for sure. That scene
was a great scene, though.
Was a great scene as well. And what I love with this show is they're not afraid to take their time. That scene was slow, very low key at first, and they just seemed like they were having tea. And then all of a sudden, Buntaro asks Mariko to go basically die together and go into the afterlife together. And she just absolutely destroys him and says, I would sooner live 1,000 years than die with you like this. And it was like, dang.
Like literally word from word. Oh my God, goodness. Dude. Like, earlier in the episode, he asked, like, I would like to have tea with my wife, like, permission. And so, like, the whole episode, I was waiting for that tea scene. And that happened, and Mariko, she kind of sat there for a second. I was wondering what she was going to say, but man, I wasn't expecting that much cruelty, my lord. And then when she walks away and he breaks down, like, I'm like, oh, see, that's how it's good writing. We know this dude's a freaking dick and beats his wife, but like when I saw him break down, like after that freaking roast, I almost like, oh, like I felt bad.
Yeah.
Like, should I be feeling bad for him?
I did feel kind of bad for him. It's very conflicting.
I don't know. Like, I feel like is he one of those characters that's changing? Like, is his mindset changing through all this? Like, is he actually turning kind of good, or I mean, it's a little too late, or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
His character is interesting.
I feel like he may be changing, but for her, in his relationship with her, I think it is too late.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But overall, I don't know. We'll see if he has some redemption. He's definitely an interesting character.
I think he will, because that a couple episodes ago, you know, the whole dinner scene, I couldn't stand the dude. And like this scene, like, I don't know, his character's silently kind of been conflicted, I think. Like, like he hasn't said much, but you can see in his eyes and his expressions when they kind of cut to him the last few episodes. And he straight up asked, like, does John Blackthorne or whatever his name is, Ajin or whatever. Anjin, did your heart or eyes still for him or something like that? And she couldn't answer.
That was pretty rough too.
Oh, I know. I'm like, dang, like he is getting, I mean, honestly, deservingly so with her. Like,
he asked.
That was a great scene.
That was such a great scene. And he asked twice in this episode to die along with someone else, and they're both like, no, basically.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that. You're right.
Yeah. Which makes me think
his wife.
Which makes me think he is going to be important and might have that redemption, but might also die during that redemption. So I feel like there's more to come from him.
Is he going to be like what's his face from Game of Thrones, the Kingslayer? What's his name? Right? Jamie from
could be, yeah.
Because he started off as a douche too.
He did.
But yeah, that scene. So what did you think of Blackthorne's kind of storyline of trying to align with someone, and then he had that conversation with the priest, and
I think
he found his people again.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. I was very curious about what's going on in his head this episode, because that scene, especially where he found his men, it seemed like he had changed changed a lot since he had been with them.
Yes.
And he saw them and how they acted and what they were up to.
And smelled.
And smelled. And he was like, I don't really want to deal with that. But then before he could leave, they saw him and they got into a fight. So I really liked the scene. It was really interesting because I wasn't even sure the men were still even alive.
I didn't think they were. He said there's, 6 left?
Yeah, 6 left.
It was interesting. I agree, because John's character is so interesting because he basically sees a drunk, disgusting, smelly pig kind of forcing his way on a girl. That was his crew member. Like, he was doing that, like, however many months ago. And, like, the fact that he saw that and he was disgusted and, like, he's like, oh, it's filthy. It smells. It's a good, like,
it shows the growth. It shows his growth.
It shows the growth,
change.
and also, like, it's good to have, like, different culture. Like, it's okay to have different ideals, like, with different cultures. You know, like him being literal, he thinks that's stupid, you know?
Yeah.
But then other things like bathing and, like, being respectful and, like, he's kind of learned, like, he's so, I don't know, I felt like it was a good scene. It's like, oh, he has changed, and he's realizing, like, hey, I don't just have to be that guy. I could take some of what I've learned with. Yeah, exactly. I can take some of both cultures, and
I didn't think about that.
Because he doesn't know. He said that, right? He does, like, I don't know where I belong.
Yeah, which would be confusing because he's been trying to get back to his men, but then he gets back to them and realizes that they're not who he remembers. And yeah, that's a tough situation.
Yeah, so I really liked, like, what's going on in his head, because he even seems confused, like we just said. All these characters were interesting. Like, we got Marco and what's her husband's name? Boomtaro with that tea scene, and then you had John kind of finding his people, and also having that conversation with the priest, and also trying to make a new alliance, and then obviously Toranaga and that stuff. Who is Yabu Shibe? That's the guy that was that John's trying to
get to go with him.
Who is his nephew?
Omi.
What's his name?
Omi.
I really liked him in this episode because I feel like even though he kind of pissed me off earlier in the season, he really cared about it. What is his cousin?
Nagakato, yeah.
Like, you could tell he was conflicted, and he's like, look, maybe he was an idiot, but he was freaking doing something.
I agree. I really liked Omi in this episode as well, because he did show his guilt. He showed how mad he was at Toranaga.
And he showed, like, he actually cares, and he, like, everyone's kind of making fun of Toranaga's son, like, oh, he slipped to fall of a rock, and he's like, you guys shut up, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like,
Yabushige was even like ranking his death.
And I was like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
So
Omi seems
really
like
this character.
Following him now for 7 episodes, he seems like one of the more reasonable characters in the show. Like, he's not doing anything crazy. He kind of has reactions that seem reasonable to me. Even when Yabushige is doing weird backstabby stuff, he kind of looks at him like, is that really what you want to do? And, like, so I feel like he's one of the more straight, like, understandable characters in the show, even though he hasn't really been that much of a centerpiece too much.
Not at all, but, like, the scenes he's in, especially his last few episodes, he does seem more level-headed, especially more level-headed than his uncle.
Yeah, for sure.
What else are we missing? I mean, that was the bulk of the episode.
So we talked a little bit about the pre-scene with Toranaga, and one of the funniest parts of this episode was, so in that scene, Toranaga gives him a plot of land for the church in the city he's building, and he goes out to visit it, and he sees the courtesans right next to him. The guy's like, oh yeah, they're your neighbors, in his face. That is like, Toranaga is just so brilliant and so funny. He's even when he does stuff like that, it's like a monkey paw. It's like, yes, you get your thing, but you're gonna be right next to the courtesan district. So funny.
I keep my word. Here you go. And I did like how he, in that scene when he had a conversation with him, he's like, no, you don't deserve to speak in my tongue. So he was still getting translated.
Yeah, that's right. That was interesting.
Marco. Yeah, that's right. That was funny.
His proposal, the priest guy, of Toranaga to side with Ochiba, that was interesting to me because it sounds good in theory, but after seeing how much she seems to hate Toranaga, I just don't know why he thinks that would work.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Is he being sincere too? I mean, he has to be, right? It kind of
seemed like it.
Because there's no way. I don't think there's a way.
Yeah. She's literally the one, like, masterminding all this. It's not really Ishido.
Maybe he doesn't realize that.
Yeah, that's possible. The one other thing that I just remembered from that is Ishido did propose to Ochiba, which...
Oh, yeah. That's right.
I kind of feel like she is not going to do that. She has a talk with that older lady who's dying from the stroke.
Was that her mom, or
it's not? It's not her mom. It's the wife of the Taiko, and then she couldn't have a son, so then she got Ochiba to be the courtesan of the Taiko to then have a son. So it's like her sister wife kind of thing. I don't know. It's weird.
Okay.
But
she said you could do better. Did you?
yeah,
he's
that's
no-name.
basically what she said, which I
Like
feel like
he needs you more than you need him.
I think she agrees with that from kind of how she reacted to him proposing, because she didn't really say anything. She didn't really give him an
Maybe
answer.
she's kind of like the smart version of like Toranaga on that end of things, you know?
Yeah.
Like she's kind of the brains on that side, it seems like. Because it seems like what's his face?
Ishido.
That dude just wants power. I don't think he's necessarily smart. I think he's just more like almost, I don't want to say a brute, but like by force kind of way. Like,
Yeah, I don't think he has the plans and understanding to stand up to Toranaga, really.
No, I agree. Well, I'm interested because we got 2 episodes left. So I'm trying to think. Like, I have a feeling it's like something big's going to happen next episode.
Yeah, I think for
To
sure.
get into the finale. That or get on a cliffhanger.
The way that
Or both.
it ended was Toranaga. Basically, he was expecting Yabushige to turn to Blackthorn and kind of betray him. He was hoping for that. He needed that for his plan. And so he said that the seppuku that Hiramatsu did, after that, he's like, well, now for sure Yabushige is going to betray me and go with Blackthorn. So that's good. We're set up. We're ready to go, basically. So whatever his plan is, I think is going to kick off next episode.
And what is it? So he basically, and then Mariko gets on that ship with Blackthorn and what's his face. And basically says that the Lord asked me to be here too. And so what is his plan for her?
I don't know. That's a good question, because I think I have an idea of what his plan is for rushing the castle or doing Crimson Sky, and it's going to be like pretending you're giving yourself up, but then actually having all your armor on and rushing it and taking it over. But I don't really know what Blackthorn has to play in this. Maybe some kind of siege tactic from the ocean, but I especially don't know what Mariko's place is in it. What can she do on the boat?
I mean, Toranaga's smart though, because he's keeping her close to John, so it has to do something with John Blackthorn, right?
Yeah.
Because he knows he's not dumb. Like that's why he sent her to translate at the place. Like he knows. So maybe it's when the time comes for her to convince John to do something.
Here, one thing it could be is since they have Yabushige's men, they do need a translator for Blackthorn. So maybe that's all that it is. But I feel like it's something more than that.
It has to be more than that, because they specifically said, "Are you ready for your plan? Or are you ready for your role?" or something like that.
Yeah, true. They did say that.
And the very next scene was that.
So I don't know.
There's something.
I agree.
I did like the very last scene of the episode where Toranaga goes to his son's gravesite for the first time because he skipped the funeral.
Because he was
and basically
sick.
said thank you. Yeah, because he was sick, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But yeah, he basically said thank you to him and what was the other guy's name?
Hiramatsu for buying him time.
Yeah, it's like thank you, Hiramatsu, for buying you time. Yep. And then he's basically said, I'm gonna take advantage of that.
Yep.
I am taking advantage of that. So I have a feeling he was very zen this episode, but I have a feeling he's gonna go off. Like I think he wants freaking revenge.
One question I have for that is, what was he gonna do if his son didn't die? Because obviously he has this plan, and part of that plan is using the 39 days or whatever it was to mourn. But did he know something was gonna happen and give him that time, or what was he gonna do if he didn't have that time? I feel like he didn't plan for his son to die. That doesn't seem feasible.
I don't think he did. I bet you his plan would have just been something along the lines of, you say you're gonna surrender and you get there and you just freaking do like a sneak attack.
Yeah, but now he has more time to plan it.
To kind of put more pieces together. I guess he's just utilizing the opportunity he got, I guess, is what I kind of got from it.
I agree. That's kind of how I saw it too.
Because I don't think he thought his son is gonna die.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought his son was gonna kill his half brother, and then that would be like, okay, well, I have to do this now, kind of thing. But because he probably did think his son was gonna do something reckless.
I saw a comment, I think on Reddit, where someone was like, I can't wait for the next episode where it shows that Toranaga went out there and oiled up all the rocks so that his son would slip. It's all part of the plan.
That would be awful.
Yeah, it would be awful. It's just a funny picture to see, but I would not want that.
You never know. Maybe he did expect his son to do something rational and kill him. Maybe he didn't anticipate him slipping on a rock and dying.
True.
But maybe he did anticipate. Maybe that was his plan initially. Is like, my son will probably do something stupid. He's going to kill him, and I'm going to have to fight anyways, and that will buy us time because he'll come to us, kind of thing.
That could be.
But because I don't know either. I'm curious too. I mean, we'll probably never know. But yeah, I thought it was an awesome episode. I love how it's setting up so many pieces for the last couple episodes.
I'm so excited for these last 2 episodes. It's going to be such a long wait between episode 9 and 10, I feel like.
I know.
Because it's going to end on something big that's about to happen, probably.
Yeah, and then we're going to have to wait another week for the final episode. I believe this is just a 1-season show, too, so we're not gonna,
so
unless they
have
do
to
like some sort of spin-offs or something. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this is just like one-off I was reading, because it's based off that one book. Like you were talking about that last week.
I really want to read that book, but I want to watch the show first, so
yeah,
don't want to spoil it.
I know it is interesting. I'm curious how the book readers like this show. Like, is it similar? You know, like very similar to the book?
Yeah,
or
I haven't
not?
seen
I'm
too
gonna
many
read about it when the show's done.
Yeah,
so, but overall, like I loved it. It was a great This whole show has just been freaking excellent.
So solid.
I love it. Yeah, that's all I got on this one.
Okay, well then we'll be back next week to talk about episode 9. I'm so excited.
So am I. Can't wait. Hopefully it's another hour. These episodes, I love how they're all an hour long or more.
Me too.